to be involved. So you're starting to see a lot of entertainers be absolute monsters at games now, too.
Oh, yeah, and it just gives a testament to how much fun Fortnite really is to play. Yeah. It's bringing out every single YouTuber, every single streamer, even competitive players, competitive side. They want to be diving into these games and whatnot.
Whoa.
But, boy,
I've
got an interesting game coming up.
I am so excited for this one. This is the one that I was highlighting before we actually went live, and I figured we would see these two play against each other. NICKMERCS and Sypher, who have been consistent throughout our tournaments. As you guys know, NICKMERCS, one of the PS4 players representing the console scene. Great player, won the first ever Friday Fortnite, took home $5,000.
Along with Sypher
as well. They've been sticking together throughout our whole tournament. Sypher is a great, if you haven't watched his streams, by the way, he is one of those players who can play beyond the level that I'll ever reach. He's one of the top players, but also be educational with his streams as well. He's got one of the most educational streams out there. But then, of course, you look at TSM, Myth and Hamlinz, right? They're coming off that hot win of our last tournaments. They won $10,000 in the last one. They came through loser bracket. Mind you, they got knocked down from winner's bracket into losers in round 2. Yeah. And they came through that and won the whole thing. This is going to be an epic matchup.
Absolutely is. And you see Myth, the top right, he's getting hyped up. Him and Hamlinz, of course, like you said, Taylor, are prior tournament champions. Can they go back-to-back? No one in our tournaments has won back-to-back or even 2 titles, so this is their opportunity to really showcase their skills. And what we've come to know, at least as far as the TSM side, is their Salty Springs pushes. Will those come to an end today, or are they going to go along with those typical strategies? And what we know about NICKMERCS and Sypher, they love the Tilted Man, and it looks like both of our teams are going to be kind of sticking to their guns and going what they feel most comfortable with.
Oh, yeah, I'm liking this tilted drop. Typically we don't see tilted drops, but NICKMERCS and Sypher like to push the envelope. And, of course, we've seen them throughout our streams, and I know we talked about it last time Legion was on stream. NICKMERCS and Sypher, when they stream, they love to go tilted, so it's great to see them going with their home standing. But, of course, a lot can happen whenever you're at tilted. But Myth and Hamlinz, they're going to choose to go straight to Salty. Last time we saw them kind of getting onto the outskirts, then pushing into Salty a little bit. But now we're seeing a little bit of a change-up. Already we see an engagement happening from NICKMERCS. Did he take that? I don't think he took the player out, but of course, he did land some shots.
He did, severely weakening.
There he was.
This is what we like to see, right, is the confidence coming out no matter what, who they're playing against, they're dropping tilted. And you're talking about Sypher. He actually had a bounce pad play that I was watching on Twitter yesterday where he put, I believe he had 6 down. He had a multitude of stacks. Traps a guy, sends him into the trap twice, bounces him from one trap to the other one, and just murders him. So not only is his content educational, but it's extremely entertaining.
Speaking of entertaining, he actually has the quad pump strategy coming out right now. I don't even want to know how that would be. Like, if you're just an enemy and you're just like, okay, there's the double pump. Oh, my God. Like, how does he have all these things ready to go and ready at will?
And he also
could be teaching us all a new strategy. Who knows?
And he also has the Deagle, which, of course, excites Legion to the fullest. So, hey, he's got a lot of great stuff in his back. Or is that the Silence Pistol?
It's the Silence Pistol, but we all know, Taylor, that if it was the Deagle, I'd be right there. But you know what? The Silence Pistol, this is what we talked about last time.
Yep.
Also extremely underrated for those cross maps. Sometimes dinks on somebody. For some reason, it doesn't seem like there's too much fall damage there for those shots. So I'm out there just like ding, 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 ding. You have no idea where the shots are coming from. Obviously, he's keeping it in the inventory, drops it. Keeps it instead, actually. Drops the Deagle. I'm not saying I'm upset, Sypher, but I am saying that there was a point there where you could have had the Deagle in your hands.
I liked it.
But it's okay, though.
Yeah, well, actually, there he goes back for the Deagle. So there is a potential.
He is just watching the stream and he's like, how much can I trip these guys up with their words? Like, what's going to happen next?
He kept the revolver.
He kept the revolver.
Okay,
okay.
Oh my God.
All right,
honestly, Sypher, wherever you're at right now, I know that you've got a mic planted in the room.
The play-by-play.
That's okay. But we got a 4-3 kill lead here for Mercs and Sypher over Myth and Hamlinz. Obviously, last week's champions, you saw a little. It seems like he was giving a little pep talk to the squad going in. Hamlinz, I've nicknamed Sleeves because as it gets later in the tournament, that right arm sleeve goes all the way up to where he's Doug Sensor Martining it with a full bicep out. And I just want to say they look nice, Hamlinz.
The higher it goes, the more intense the gameplay is going to be from Hamlinz, right? That's what we discovered in our stream before. But Hamlinz has been impressing a lot of players. Hamlinz is really showcased his skills. Of course, we always knew he was one of the better players out there. But after that last tournament, I mean, showcasing his abilities, the sleeve was all the way up. And we knew it was just all the way up.
Sorry, I just got to add that in there quick. But, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to landing zones, I want to highlight this quick. We talked, like I said, Salty Springs versus Tilted Towers. I mean, it's kind of been an oddity for us to experience, which really are the high-level places. The strategies for landing zones have obviously changed up a tremendous amount over time. But really, as far as the tournaments have progressed, Salty Springs in the very beginning of our tournaments weren't necessarily the most popular places to go. And now, based off of 2 guys going to Tilted and 2 guys going to Salty, there isn't much of a difference as far as their overall kills are considered. And I don't know if that's just the overall meta change. Of course, we talk about the RNG that does come into every single game. Without question, plays a role. But I think it's fair to say fans, maybe even after watching these Friday Fortnite tournaments, are starting to get a little bit more well-acquainted when it comes to the Salty Springs.
NICKMERCS just picked up a 3-piece with that purple burst. What? Did you see him lasering, Legion?
He was lasering. First, he took down. I believe the guy had a jetpack going up the ramp where they were. I don't know if potentially just building a jump pad space. Shoots him down, takes the damage, and just goes over, then absolutely murks a whole squad.
That's just the accuracy from NICKMERCS. I mean, he really can beam players left and right. And I mean, getting those 4 eliminations back to back puts him at 7 kills, 7-1 with Cypher 8. And looking at the other end, we have 4. So they've taken the lead over once again. Of course, though, they're at Dusty. We might see them converge in just a little bit. Myth and Hamlinz, though, with the Pop Rocks, they're going to be moving forward and trying to find some engagements. One of the things about Tilted is you're always going to find engagements. It will slow down, but there's always going to be constant engagements as people are going to be pushing into Tilted, coming in from Shifty, coming in from Yonder Way as well. But Myth and Hamlinz, it might be a bit dry. They are going to move into retail. Hopefully they can find some engagements, but that's one of the differences between the landing spots, right?
Yeah, of course, nice shots coming through from Cypher. We see the FAMAS from NICKMERCS' screen. Of course, the console player, definitely one of the better console players that we have in the entire game right now, and he shows exactly why that is the case. But speaking on the likes of strategies and whatnot, one thing that I do notice from all 4 of our players currently in the lobby, as NICKMERCS does get the official knockdown onto another, all 4 guys are rocking default skins. This is something that we saw from week 2, even as early as that, now kind of leading into a lot of our pro teams are rocking the same strategy as well. Putting on the default skin, a lot of the time, if you're playing in Fortnite, you see a guy with a default skin, you're saying, okay, this guy, not a good player. It's going to be an easy engagement for us to win. And this game, right, is all about engagements. You want people to come toward you, and it's definitely a pretty interesting surprise, I'm sure, for a lot of these players when they see default skins. You shoot them once, and then there's just a massive tower, like it's just a matter of moments. So
yeah, I believe I've been seeing this carryover from a lot of these pros and streamers just happening in general now in the Fortnite community as a whole, because I'm running into default skins, building like Harry Potter, and at that point I just immediately go, oh, I'm being trapped into a murder scene. So I start to run away. But talking about NICKMERCS as a whole here, being a predominantly console player, I love watching this guy come in and dominate. Obviously, Cypher's an absolute monster.
Oh, yeah.
You play your role for your teammate however you need to play it, right? So you've got Cypher here with 2 kills, but he's been playing a lot of an assist role here with Nick when he's been going into these engagements earlier. Maybe he's been a little bit closer to battle. And one thing that I actually took away from Nick's stream the last time that we were here for Friday Fortnite was his ability to – he was tapping – for the ADS down sights in a gunfight with the controller, and it re-snaps and helps you with accuracy from a more mid to longer range. So it's something I was watching him do. I went home, and it actually helped me a lot with my own gameplay with a PlayStation or an Xbox controller. So it's super cool to see just some of the little minor things that you might not think about being so good, and obviously he's just doing them.
And that caters to his grinding of the game. I know we've talked about even with our prior guests. Everyone knows, right? As far as NICKMERCS is considered, he is playing in these type of tournaments, not necessarily with the same amount of prize pool, but playing in these tournaments night in and night out. He is probably the most experienced player when it comes down to these kind of 2 versus 2 squad games than anyone in any of our tournaments. Anyone who's playing in these games right now, he has played in more situations than any other player. So I think that really kind of comes down to his ability of grinding the game, knowing a lot of these strats, and like we talked about, right? 2 versus 4 heading into Tilted. Plus, you put a controller in his hands and he walks away with 9 frags. Like, that is absolute absurdity. I think that really gives a testament to his overall ability as a player, but also the grinding that he gets in and day out in this game of Fortnite.
And one thing that I really like, just from this engagement we're seeing right now with NICKMERCS and Cypher, look how far they're spread apart. And they do that for a reason, to kind of split up the engagements, because they, of course, enemy teams usually, at least I know, I've noticed from my gameplay, something I need to change is my team typically stays relatively close together.
There's a lot you need to change.
There's a lot I need to change. I agree with that. But my team typically likes to stay together. But if we spread out a little bit more, we can spread out those engagements and kind of differentiate the amount of engagements we're seeing. But that's kind of what they're doing, and they're coming in, and then they're eventually pinching onto the enemy team, and that's something that's really nice for them. They're playing the roles relatively well, and it shows with 13 total kills overall to the 9 of Myth and Hamlinz. But I just got to say, both teams been playing fairly well, but NICKMERCS has just been lasering people, and that tilted drop really paid off.
I mean, with 27 engagements left, I mean, I really feel like Myth and Hamlinz, considering how big of a deficit at the start of the game there was so quickly, are doing a great job in keeping it relatively close. And since this is a game one, I mean, you see him just creeping up knock by knock. It's kind of one of those things where, as corny as it sounds, whenever you're watching these players, it's like, yeah, don't quit playing just because you think something might not be possible.
Right.
These guys are considered professionals or high-tier streamers for a reason.
Oh, without question.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like seeing from Friday Fortnite as compared to maybe other tournaments as well is seeing these high-level players. Their aggression and their confidence really shows in these tournaments, and that's something that we saw. Saturday Fortnite, we saw a lot of these lower-tier players play.
We learned a lot from that.
We learned a lot. And one of the main things that I learned is there's a huge difference between, like, let's say, like a top amateur and a professional like Myth and Hamlinz or maybe NICKMERCS and Sypher. A top amateur will let the opponent come to them, and really let them dictate the fight, whereas Myth and Hamlinz are just top tier TSM face, you name it. They take the fight to their opponent. They'll be pushing up relatively than waiting for their opponent to push them. And that's one of the things that separates a pro from a top amateur.
And that's pacing in any game, right? If you look at being able to control the pace of a game and these engagements for yourself, I mean, that automatically puts you in control, especially in these types of fights. And in a game where building is so, I mean, it's the only game really where building's prominent, right? But in a game where fast pace and being able to be so agile in those types of gunfights where you have multiple things to think about, not just shooting, not just cover, but you're literally building your own environment.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to control the pace of the game. And I feel like exactly what you were saying, these amateurs, they'll wait for people to kind of come to them more often than pushing. And then, of course, we see even Nick with a controller here. Both